Welcome to HBCU Her Voice, a place where we celebrate the powerful voices and stories of remarkable women from historically Black colleges and universities. I'm your host, Shanadra Washington, a proud HBCU graduate myself. I'm thrilled to bring you this platform dedicated to amplifying the voice of our community. We dive into inspiring stories of resilience, success, and the incredible impact these women are making in the world. From trailblazing entrepreneurs to innovative leaders, we bring you the stories that matter, showcasing how HBCU experiences shape paths and fuel passions. We'll explore challenges, victories, and wisdom. Whether you're an HBCU alum, a student, faculty member, supporter, or simply someone who believes in the power of diverse voices, we are so glad to have you. So listen up as we share insights, celebrate achievements, and uplift our community. Together, we can inspire the next generation of leaders and ensure our voices are heard loud and clear. A grand welcome to HBCU Her Voice.
Hello. I am so glad to be here. I'm Dr. Jennifer Edwards, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, now in sunny Dallas, Texas. So I am just so glad to be here today to spend some time connecting and sharing and just being in a positive space. So I hope you're having an amazing day. I can share a little bit about myself and then just let's dive into the discussion. I am so looking forward to it. So as I mentioned, I'm originally from Cleveland and now I live in Dallas. So I say pop and I say y'all. Okay, I do both of them. And really, my life has just truly been characterized by resilience. And so we can spend some time just talking about my journey a bit. And I hope it inspires something in you. I'm also just happy to connect directly anytime on social at Dr. Jen Edwards on Instagram as well as LinkedIn, because I truly enjoy these conversations. So, when I think about how did I get to where I am now? And how do we feel about where we are now? For me, it really goes back to having just a truly joyful and amazing childhood in terms of my younger years, age 0 to 7, those early childhood years. And then after that, life turned into a ride. I will say, I've always had everything I've needed, most of what I've wanted. And my life was just truly characterized by a lot of loss. And so I lost my father at the age of 7. He was only 42, which is the age I'm approaching now. So that's just really a new way of looking at life when I know this is how far my dad made it. What does that do for your motivation and for your thinking? But I lost my dad when I was only 7 years old and he had leukemia and he was a great dad. And I felt like, he was my person to have fun with. And he introduced faith into my life and just was so high energy and a lot of fun. He was the dad that would take me to the movies I probably shouldn't have been sitting in. He threw me in the pool. That was his way of teaching me how to swim. Just truly an amazing father. And so I lost him when I was 7. I have no siblings. I'm an only child. So only children check in here. Only children check in. I have no siblings, which also means that my nuclear family growing up was very different. My nuclear family was my grandparents. It was my great-grandparents. I was blessed to know them up through college and live with them during the summers and just truly spend years with my great-grandparents and my grandparents. And that took me to a phase of life as I progressed where I lost them. They passed on. They were great-grandparents, grandparents. And so just the loss of essentially most of my nuclear family, I'm grateful my mom is still living, love her dearly. She's in Georgia. The loss of most of my nuclear family was a challenge, especially going into adult years, especially when you hear your friends saying, oh, I'm going on a cruise with my sister, or, my brother and I are going to head here. And I don't have that. So it was just more loss, like loss on top of loss, right? And then in the meantime, I'm still living. I'm still having a blast. I spent my college years at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. If you all don't hear my HBCU pride, there it is. I absolutely love Florida A&M. My undergraduate major was in the sciences. And then I went straight into working at a federal agency after college. And decided to go back to graduate school and earn my doctoral degree from HU, from Howard University. And, really sat back and looked at all the programs in the Washington, D.C. area and said, what can I pursue? What can I study? And I truly chose to continue with my interests that have always been in health, in the sciences. And so my doctoral degree specializes in public health as well. And so, life still would go on, right? But I always had this hole in my heart, I felt like, where just so many family members of mine, had been lost. And so, in my adult years, I lost a child through miscarriage at 12 weeks pregnant. And I said, you know what? Loss cannot define me. I cannot be defined by all of these losses. I was tired of crying in the shower. I was tired of wanting more surrounding me than I had. And I said, I'm going to create. I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to take control of what I have left of what has been an amazing life that has just truly been characterized by loss. So I decided to help myself, make a plan, get community. Community is so important, especially for those of us that may not have large families. And you can think about, what are your business goals? What are your career goals? And pursue those in such a way that you've got partners and you've got people helping you. We don't have to do everything by ourselves. And so, yes, my life was characterized by a lot of loss. And I'm grateful because I really found my path to resilience. I made a plan. I connect in community, and I work hard in my own business and just truly carry the legacy of my family. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur and do my best to serve and support women financially and also relating to health. So, getting creative in things that have been a thread in my life and really turning the pain into purpose, as we hear sometimes, and putting resilience at the forefront of everything I do. So I'm so glad to be here. Let's dive in. Let's have a good discussion. Thank you.
I was sitting here, Dr. Jen, and I got a few chills because there's so many parallels. You said only child check-in. My son, he's an only child, and as far as he knows, he's gonna remain one. Okay, he's he's 6, so he'll be 7 in 2 days. His birthday is on Thursday. But I also grew up in a only child household, although I'm not an only child. My grandparents raised me, my paternal grandparents. And when I was in the household, it was just us 3, although I had siblings and things that were outside of the household, just kind of an unconventional thing. So I do relate on many levels of that only child kind of syndrome because of just the way my dynamic was. So that for me also taught me kind of like this coat of like me having to somewhat figure it out because I didn't have that, standard sister in the house. I had a bunch of cousins around, but in terms of them being in there every day, doing the thing, that only child thing really stuck out to me. And then also too, the connection with the great grandparents. I had 2 great grandmothers that went into my 20s, and most people can't say that. So that is so very powerful that you share that. So I'm sitting here thinking about all of these parallels and thinking about people that are living similar lives and they're on the other side of the place and we don't even know if they exist. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you this. How important have networks been for you? Because you have characterized this life of loss, right? And you haven't had that family, right? So you've probably in many instances had to build that family or build that tribe or build that community. How important have networks been? Because if you experience so much loss and you don't feel like you have that family, where has networking and community building been a place kind of heart for you because of that?
Oh, that's such a great question. That's such a great question. Particularly for me, I can be an introvert on many days, and a lot of people actually don't necessarily realize that. And so I really like to build meaningful connections, authentic connections, where appropriate, extend them into future professional relationships and personal relationships. And so I've always been really thoughtful and intentional about that, because there's only so much energy that you can have in a day. And so for me, it's about choosing proper spaces where I, as an introvert, can show up. I know there are plenty of people out there that can go to the happy hour Tuesday, the happy hour Thursday, hit the party Friday, and all of that. That's never quite been my story. I was the friend at FAM that was taking pictures of my friends going out to the club. I would go sometimes, but for me, community really is at the core, and that is how I build my network. And so I build it through the things that I'm excited about and passionate about. I was active in my local FAMU Alumni Association for several years and was also chapter VP. And that was a way of connecting around something that I genuinely loved and enjoyed. And I built great friendships out of doing that. And then I am a member of a Greek organization, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm a mom of two. So I'm also in Jack and Jill. And so for me, which everything's not for everybody, I get it. But for me, that's how I build connections and community and find out about fun activities, where I live, where I can go meet new people. And so, yes, networking, having community is certainly very, very important for me.
Yes, beautiful answer. And when I was reading your information, you said something that stood out, because I want you to talk more about how you help women with their finances, because this is a thing that we can't be laughing about, and part of the reason why I show up every day for this is because of that financial piece, and that women that look like myself and Dr. Jen are continuously losing and at the bottom of the totem pole. Right. So I want you to talk about this, because you said something I thought that was very profound when you wrote into the show. And you said that thinking about retirement, we have to have the focus and the resilience to focus on something that could potentially happen 20, 10, 15 years from now, based on your age. Right. I need you to talk about this and really seeing in the realm of retirement, especially as it relates to women, and why that is such a place of passion for you.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And so ironically, I feel like I stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur and a third generation financial professional. And so I even went back to school during the pandemic and earned an MBA. My mom had a consulting firm. She's a CPA. My grandmother, fun fact, was a bookkeeper for LeBron James's PR team. Remember, I said I'm from Cleveland. And so I've had this just built into my way of thinking for a long time in terms of finances. And, there's no secret that Black women make less than we should on the job, which is also why we've got so many of us having amazing businesses and truly trying to, show up and be paid equitably and serve in our purpose and in our passions. And so doing this kind of work is just really, really important to me, because we can transform our financial future. I spend my time helping women to have a fun, flexible, and funded retirement. And that starts today. I dove into the data my PhD at work. My PhD specialized in health and women's empowerment aspects of health. So I'm always about, how do we support women in what we need in our lives? And so I put that research hat on and I dove into IRS data. I know that doesn't sound fun maybe to others, but there were great insights in there about what women can do with their finances to align with that of the wealthiest women in the United States. And part of that really is making sure that you have the proper retirement plans in place. And that starts now. It does not have to take a lot of money. I think sometimes we overcomplicate things. It does not require a lot of money to get started. What you don't want to do is miss out on all the compounding interest over the years because you wait until you're 55 to get started. That's too late. A lot of my clients are in their 30s and 40s, and the sooner the better. The sooner the better is what I always say. And I can share my own example of just one account that I have that I started right when I graduated from Howard. It was my first job with my doctorate. And, I contributed to the account maybe for 2 years, and fresh out of school, finances are interesting. However, I had $7,000 in that account. And this is what I help my clients look at as well. If we're talking about retirement rollovers, you don't want to keep your money in risky places, especially the closer you get to retirement, because it takes too long to recover. So I look at retirement accounts that you might have in place. I looked at this account for myself. I said, okay, $7,000, but I had a really great employer match that for every dollar I put in, they put in $2 and guaranteed 7% interest. So what does all this mean? It basically means free money. Okay. That's the short story, is that you want to make the most of your employer retirement plans. You also want to have a standalone retirement plan that is not exposed to the risk of the stock market. But that's $7,000. By the time I retire, by the time I'm making my money work for me, right? So the compound interest, just making it grow just because it's sitting there, is going to be worth $250,000. And that's just one account that I committed and said, you know what, I'm going to let it sit there. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It's about being consistent. It's about making the commitment. And we can all save, not just for money's sake, but so that we can serve, so that we can give back to the community, so that we can give back to our families. We might have parents we need to take care of. We might have kids we need to take care of. And then, of course, we want to be able to live fruitful retirement years in the future as well. So, yeah, financial education is important. Partnering with a licensed financial professional, such as myself, is very, very valuable. We don't know everything about everything. So partner with somebody that's going to help you out.
That is so beautiful. And I love the small and actionable tip that you gave just then, because I think sometimes we hear this stuff like compound interest and, this matching thing or whatever. You said real clearly, it's just free money. See, those are the kind of tips I like, because let's just cut through all the stuff and get to it and say, this is free money. Here's why they're matching it. And I can remember, just me specifically, one of my first jobs out of college, I actually used to work at a call center where we would answer phones for people with 401ks, 403bs. It's one of the largest insurance companies in the world. And I can remember sometime when we would call in, we just had no idea what those plans were. We were thinking they were like savings accounts where we could just, get the $5 out. And these people were like, no, you can't get the money out right now. There's stipulations. So that education piece and knowing why these accounts are set up that way, what they actually do, are game changers. So people like Dr. Jen can come in and help you understand that. So I'm happy that you're doing the work that you do, because it is so important from a knowledge and awareness standpoint. Now, we do have to shift a little bit, Dr. Jen, to historically Black colleges and universities, because Dr. Jen is a dual hat wearer. She says she's from Florida A&M and from Howard University. For me, and I've had these conversations a lot over a few days, and I've talked about this environment that was created for me through my historically Black college and university. I went to Houston-Tillotson in Austin, Texas. And for me, it was something that I always say I can never replicate that feeling. When I left there and went straight to corporate, Dr. Jen, I said, "What they dropped me off right here? Like, what happened?" I'm like, "Dr. Jen, they just dropped me off here and gonna leave me." Talk about that environment and that feeling that you had going through both of your HBCUs, and really why it's so important that those institutions, number one, still thrive, and just basically what it gave to you.
Oh yeah, we need our HBCUs. There is no excuse to get rid of them. They are valuable, they are necessary, they are foundational, they are special. And for me, both experiences served a slightly different purpose. So, I chose to go to HBCUs. There are, of course, camps of people that have whatever opinions they might have, but I had the Baylor scholarship. I had the letter from Harvard. I got into George Washington University, but I chose to attend Florida A&M. I chose to attend Howard University. I actually wrote Howard a letter. Okay, so I might be dating myself a little bit. I was sitting in a library and wrote a letter to Howard University because I saw the college listed in a book. And I knew I wanted to go to a school like Howard. My favorite show was A Different World. So I was already sold on a school that could be like that. I still wasn't super clear on what HBCUs were. But what I did know is that when a school values me, that's somewhere that I'd like to be. Florida A&M came to the Dallas area. They recruited really heavily here. I attended an event and they handed me a scholarship on the spot. So, that's hard to refuse. And then, of course, I took the tour down there. I tried out for cheerleader. I cheered at Florida A&M. And I mean, there was no turning back once I got on that campus for the tour. I fell on the set in front of everybody, ripped my pants. And I got picked up and was like, hey, it looks kind of nice here. And so I love HBCUs. I come from, the suburbs of Dallas since high school. And I was in the Cleveland suburbs as well. And for me, being in a place that was diverse was new. I was always the only Black person in my honors classes or my AP classes. And it shouldn't have to be like that. It should not have to be like that. And so I got to FAM and saw like, hey, there are a lot of other students just like me. We're all here on the full scholarships. We're all here because we're high performers. And so it gave me a level of confidence that frankly, I didn't have in the suburbs of Texas, where I was being judged for all the wrong things, just to put it nicely. And so it really over time had taken a toll on how I viewed myself. And I was just really thankful for the HBCU environment to help rebuild that confidence. And I haven't struggled with it since. And I credit the HBCU experience for that. And then very similar to your situation that you mentioned, my first job in the sciences, I was about it. Okay. The agency was not very large, but when we think about equity in the workforce, right, there's different staffing levels we have to think about. What does equity look like at the director level? What does equity look like at the manager level, the specialist level, the administrative assistance level? And it's not all the same. It's not all the same thing. And then when it comes to just day-to-day interactions, you might or might not be working with people that look like you. And so that can feel really isolating. Once again, you kind of layer that with the piece that I don't have a huge family. And I said, you know what? I need to get my diversity from graduate school. I knew I wanted to go to grad school. I was still trying to find my way. What do I do with my expertise and my interests? And so I took a year off between undergrad and graduate school, the most fun year of my life in Washington, D.C. And then after that, I said, I want to go to Howard, in large part because I was a professional fresh out of school, and I was not around anybody that looked like me. And I was craving that. I was missing that. So slightly different reasons, but HBCUs matter. They're also gateway schools. There are requirements that are more supportive of students that may need, some additional leeway when it comes to enrollment. And, having said that, though, we're also in a season where they're popular. There's tons of applicants. And so the selectivity has certainly gone up as well for many schools. So, there's an HBCU out there for everyone. I mean, I can totally nerd out talking about it. Are we talking about the private HBCUs, the public HBCUs, all the nuances there, the large ones, the small ones, the ones up north, the ones down south? It's truly an honor to be part of the HBCU community.
And Dr. Jen, don't worry, because we'll have a segment and we can nerd out together on a panel discussion. Because we can totally nerd out together. No, seriously, on a panel discussion, because we'll have other types of, information that flow into the show, and there will be informational. And, people like you that have that knowledge, not just on the surface thing because it's popular now, as you stated, but really know the ins and outs of these universities, where their positions, which ones is best for which types of majors and all those kind of things, is the kind of information that we need to strategically push out so that people can make the best informed decision for themselves. So, Dr. Jen, we got to talk legacy, right?
Absolutely.
What is legacy for you? What's next for you? What ultimately, if all said and done, and you were preparing to leave this place, not anytime soon or space, but what would they say about Dr. Jen? What would they ultimately be saying if you had it your way in the touch, feel, the whole vibe of your legacy?
Oh, I love that question. And I think about that from time to time. And I think the answer continues to grow and gain more depth. Because I do want my life to be meaningful. I want my life to be meaningful. I want people to look back at the things that I've said and the things that I've done and say, you know what, she really cared about serving and service, supporting communities. She loved her family and she had joy. Most of all, I want to be able to say that I helped others shine their light. And to do that, I've got to shine my own, which is a daily challenge that I embark upon. How do we show up as our best in this world and do our best in this world? My grandmother has on her headstone, and what she would always say is never let anyone steal your joy. And so, if we can combine all of those things, I would love to have a legacy that shows that I did more than just for myself. I wanted to make other people's lives better, where it's wanted and welcome. And yes, I did that through having a business. Yes, I did that through having a nonprofit, serving on nonprofit boards, being a mom, being a wife. I want to be seen as someone who tried my best, fully acknowledging that we're all on this ride together and we're all figuring it out together. But if that had to be the dash, it's really, she tried hard, she served, she loved, and she didn't let anybody mess with her either.
Okay, she said that nobody was messed with Dr. Jen because Dr. Jen is coming ready. You hear me? Dr. Jen, I want you to tell our listeners, our viewers, where they can find you. If you have anything that's going on now that you're actively promoting, any program, just let us know so that our viewers have a good idea of connecting with you and maybe even something that you have to offer now.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to offer a free at-home financial retreat. You all can find that at the website for Savvy Financial Wellness, which is planyourevolution.com. That's planyourevolution.com. And it's a free experience where we can talk about financial education and how do you make your money work for you. I'm always committed to health. And so I do have a nonprofit and we're training community health workers to support mothers in community and support their mental health. And we're up to about 1,000 registrants for that. So if you ever come across my social pages, definitely look into what I'm doing with the Renewal Foundation. It's a lifelong passion project. I love doing it. And if you're in the Dallas area, just reach out. I would love to grab coffee, do a yoga class, go on a trail walk together. It would be a pleasure to connect.
Okay, now, Dr. Jen, when I get to Dallas, you know, I'm right here in Houston. Don't be talking about you block my number and I.
No, I am here. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, we definitely have to connect. We're too close to each other not to have some connection. So good to know I got, you know, a fellow Texas person here on the stream, building community and building connection. And that's what this really is all about. So, Dr. Jen, we got a cue to you for your final thoughts. You got to go ahead and put your pen in it and just say, if nothing else, I want you to get this from this segment, and we're going to cue to you for your final thoughts.
Oh, that's wonderful. If nothing else, know that you are not defined by past negative circumstances. Feel your feelings, make a plan, surround yourself with people who support you, and move forward with some goals for yourself, for your family, for your work, and do your best. Nobody's perfect. We're all out here on this journey together. Have confidence in what you know you've been put here to do.
I love it. What a beautiful episode that had some really, really inspiring nuggets, even some things that I'm taking away for myself to put an action plan on. I want to thank Dr. Jen for coming to hang out with us and spending some time with us. It's been absolutely amazing. And as always, we love you in this community. And we'll be back next time with yet another amazing